Hi there, it's Rebecca with Inner Power Training. I've got my Lifewave patch on today. I usually have it on every day. I take it off in the evening at night before I go to sleep, wear it for at least 12 hours a day, and it does energize me, gives me mental clarity. I think it reverses the aging process. Honestly, I feel really pretty good all the time. I don't have those ups and downs like a lot of my friends do that are as old as me. I was born in 1946. I just did a video on Jacobo Grinberg, who was born in 1946. That was a good year to be born. And he disappeared, though, in 1994. Now, I'm going to talk about ESP, one of my favorite topics. He dug into that. Jacobo Greenberg, he was a mystic, like Jose Silva was a mystic. Mary Baker Eddy was a mystic. Jesus was a master metaphysician. There are all kinds of people that come around on this planet. And if planet Earth is a classroom, you get to pick whatever curriculum you want to study. You have free will. Well, I dug into a lot of things like the paranormal, psychic ability, consciousness, spiritual healing. I just find all of these things super, super duper fascinating. And I like to study them because I like to know how to use my mind um, and expand my awareness because otherwise, I used to get bored. If I was just locked in the 3D world and my five senses, it's much more exciting to explore consciousness. Now, let me tell you about ESP. Years ago, when I was living in New York City in 1968, 69, 70, I'm sorry if you missed the 60s because there was a lot of good stuff happening back then. We pretty much had a blast. Now they're even saying it could have been the last vestige of good living that we've seen because, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have security guards guarding all the VIP. We all hung out together and we all met each other at restaurants and you could live anywhere you wanted to live. I lived at 7 Park Avenue and then I moved down to Greenwich Village, right across the street from Cafe Figaro on Sullivan Street. I was living right beside that show called The Fantastics, which was the longest running off-Broadway show ever in New York City. I never went to see it actually, but I used to go to the Cafe Figaro a lot and hang out there. It was right on the corner. Well, I met this guy who was an actor, and he was born and raised in Argentina. And he too was very interested in things like psychic ability, and he learned how to read minds. So he taught me, and I'm going to teach you right now. It's not that difficult. You just have to have a curiosity for it. So one day he showed me how if you just take a deck of cards and you give it to your friend, a partner, and you have them look at a card while you close your eyes and get very relaxed. Just shut out the world and imagine that there's a screen in front of your eyelids. And then just get very, very relaxed. And then, there's a deck of 52 cards. So you're going to pick the card that this person is looking at using your psychic abilities. Now, how do you do that? When you're very relaxed, first you go red, black, red, black. And if it's a black card or a red card, whatever it is, you may get a little rush or zap or something will click and you'll feel it. You just feel it because you are a multidimensional being. There are actually people who can read books blindfolded. They're teaching children how to do this in countries all over the world. And they can do it. They can read without using their eyes. We have gifts that we can't even imagine that we haven't tapped into yet. But this is a good one, ESP. Why do you want to practice your ESP? Because it expands your consciousness. I'll give you some more reasons in a few minutes after I tell you how to do it. So you go black, red, black, red. Let's say it's a red card. Okay. You get the rush, the little zinger, and you go, red. Okay, you're right. The partner has to encourage you and put you on the right track. Okay. So then you go through the suits. King, no, what is it? Diamond, hearts, spades, clubs. But since it's a red card, diamond, heart, diamond, heart. What is it? Okay, you get it. Okay, then you go through the whole deck. King, queen, jack, 10, ace, 10, 9. Very slowly, very slowly. And when you hit the card on your mental screen that that person is looking at, you will feel a little surge. You might even see the card in your mind's eye. You might actually see it with your imagination, or it's not really your imagination, you're tuning in. And you can see things. That's what remote viewers do. They see things in their consciousness because there are no limits to what we can see. Okay, so you pick the card and you just slowly go through the deck until you feel something. You've got to make sure that you're in a very relaxed state and you shut out the world. That's the best thing. You're actually going into the alpha and even theta level of consciousness where your brain wave is slowing down. About, they say maybe 10% of the population is a natural alpha thinker. If you're a natural one, it makes it very easy to be psychic and use your ESP. But we all have this ability. We all have this capability. After I was taught how to do it, one evening I was with my roommate, Anne, who was also a flight attendant like me. And we were in our apartment. So I said, let's practice being psychic using the cards. And we got to a point where we were 100% accurate. I could send her the image of a card, she could send it to me, and we were 100% accurate. And I have to say, it freaked us out a little bit because all of a sudden we're going, well, how does this work? How come I can think something and you know what I'm thinking and vice versa? And we really wanted to know why it worked. So we picked up the yellow pages that we had in our apartment in New York. Back in those days, we went to the yellow pages to find things and find people. And the white pages, there were the white pages and the yellow pages. We go into the yellow pages and we're looking for spiritual people that could maybe give us the answer to how this works. We were calling rabbis, ministers, priests, anybody we could find in the yellow pages that we might be able to get on the phone. And they all told us the same thing. We don't know how it works. We don't know how it works. They weren't even that interested. So, we gave up on that. But ESP is real. Yes, it is. I mean, I know there are an awful lot of people out there that still don't believe it. But why is it important? Because once you understand that you can actually read someone's mind that's sitting at a distance from you, and then you begin to understand that you can tune into people wherever they are, you begin to realize that we're all connected. And that means you can send out messages to people, or you can tune in and see what they're about, what they're thinking. We have an exercise in the Silva training where you take someone's head and put it over your head like a helmet and look out like you're looking out from their eyes when you're at this deep alpha level of consciousness. And you can actually feel like you're that person and begin to understand why they act the way they do, why they feel the way they do, what they're about. And it's very interesting and very revealing, but then you have to remember to take the helmet off after you're finished. You don't want to go around feeling like them all the time necessarily, but that's another technique. Now, I used to do this on the airplane. I would sit in the back lounge of the DC-8 on a quiet flight, and there'd be maybe a few passengers, two or three sitting there. And I'd say, "Oh, you want me to read your mind and show you how to do it?" And I would have them look at a card, and I would tell them what card they were looking at. And I would be 100% accurate. Well, one day I was doing it, and a man burst into tears that was standing near me, near the galley. I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "I feel like you can read my mind." And it freaked him out. Well, this is the way it works. If you're a tuned in psychic, empathic person, you do pick up on people's vibes. You kind of read them like a book. But that doesn't mean you're tuning into every thought they have. It doesn't work that way necessarily. It could if you wanted to. You could probably tune in and see what they were about. But why bother? Just if it's not relevant, why bother? But, there's always been psychics on this planet. There are some that are more gifted than others. That's the way it works. So, if you want to develop it, the reason to do it is because it gives you a better perspective on consciousness. Once I figured out that we're all connected in the invisible realm that we call whatever, some people call it spirit, some people call it the ether, some people call it, you know, it's a field. It's actually an energy field. Our brain is the receiver and sender. Our mind is not in our brain. The mind is a field, almost like a magnetic field that we can tune into. And the more you learn to develop your intuition, your ESP, your extrasensory perception, Jose Silva called it effective sensory projection, because you can project your consciousness. And if you need to communicate with your higher self about something, which is plugged into the whole universe to get answers, you can do that. That's what geniuses do. How do you think Nikola Tesla and Einstein and creative people get their ideas? They're tuning in. We're all born geniuses. We just get dumbed down by everything we're exposed to in the 3D world. But if you want to activate yourself, do these exercises, practice, 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 and have a passion for it, because it makes life so much more interesting.